He looked for food in the trash can every day, and the half hamburger left by others was his daily ration. But for such a homeless man who had difficulty surviving, Willie actually used the money he had saved for 7 days of charity to buy a set of English handwritten cards. When Willie came to the front desk to pay, he was despised by the little girl next to him. Willie consciously put the money and cards at the front desk, hoping that the little girl's mother could help with the bill. Willie then turned and walked outside. After the woman helped with the bill, she gave the card to Willie, and Willie said thank you to the woman. The reason why Willie wanted to buy this set of handwritten cards was because of a burned diary he found that night. It was this diary completely changed Willie's life. The owner of the diary is a little girl, and it records every day after her mother passed away. Willie saw the girl's loneliness in it, and the words exuded a strong sadness. The girl's lonely soul resonated with Willie, and the two lonely hearts began to collide. But except for the first page, the rest were handwritten in a way he couldn't understand. Willie wanted to ask the homeless man next to him for help, but he got a friendly international greeting in return. Willie couldn't sleep that night, not because the weather was too cold, but because he had something worth missing in his heart. The next morning, a missionary came to preach, saying that God can help everyone in need. Willie asked him to help read the diary, but was rejected. The reason was that he had to help other people in need. However, these useless scriptures were not as practical as a piece of dry bread for the homeless. Now with this set of handwritten cards, it became easier to read the following content. What he didn't expect was that the girl was afraid of thunder, and Willie was the same. Just then, thunder suddenly sounded in the sky. He curled up in a small cardboard box and trembled with fear from the thunder. Willie hugged the diary tightly. It was more than just a diary to him. It was more like an old friend who was willing to open his heart to him. The weather cleared up the next day. Willie took the diary to the rooftop to bask in the sun. In the sun, Willie's eyes stroked the diary again and again. It was like stroking an intimate old friend. That day he polished a pencil, he picked up on the wall, and then tried to talk to the girl on the blank page of the diary. As a homeless man, he was very lonely, and subconsciously wanted to become a pen pal with the girl. He wrote down his name, his life, and the various experiences he had when begging. He liked to stand on the roof alone, quietly overlooking the entire city, and often fantasized about turning into a flying bird and leaving here. Usually he slept during the day, because at night there would always be someone who suddenly attacked and robbed these already miserable people. Some time ago, Willie lost his sleeping bag because of this, and he became a night owl because of this. The nighttime is very quiet, but also very lonely. No one wants to talk to him. He wrote all his thoughts in it. That day, Willie folded everything he recorded into a plane and threw it gently into the air. Imagined that the plane could fly to the girl, who longed for friends just like Willie. But in the diary, she said that she seemed to be non-existent and could not get the attention of other children. When her mother was alive, she would always comfort her. As long as the girl was alone, she would send an angel to hug her. But the angel never appeared, and Willie thought his life would always be like this. Until this night, a luxury car suddenly visited here, and 2 young men wanted to see 2 homeless people fighting each other. The winner can get a reward of $50, and Willie wanted to come and watch the fun, but he was knocked down from behind by a tall black man. So a duel between the two began, and Willie was caught off guard without any preparation. The two punched and kicked each other in the cold and narrow street, but in the end, Willie's fists were better. He pinned the black man down until he could not move, and at the same time got $50 from the young man. The young man raised his right hand and announced to everyone present that he was the champion. And in his boastful and arrogant tone, Willie felt a strong sense of identity for the first time. But at this time, he didn't know that the young man didn't take him seriously at all. The reason why he found a beggar like Willie was just to spend his free time. A way to send off Willie did not choose to keep the 50 yuan and eat a full meal for a while. Instead, he came to the hotel and booked a good room. He washed off the dirt and unbearableness on his body. Then he lay quietly on the bed, feeling the softness of the mattress, and ate snacks and watched TV under the dim light. Perhaps he was afraid that his thoughts would linger too much here, and finally he chose to spend a night on the cold floor. After leaving the hotel the next day, he continued to wander on the street. Willie accidentally found a homeless man pushing a wheelchair. Remember a few nights ago, he happened to sleep across the street from him, watching him move so hard under the scorching sun. Willie, who was kind-hearted, wanted to help him, but was ruthlessly rejection. Seeing his attitude, Willie had to change his approach. "If you help me read this diary," He will push you to where you want to go. This time, the other party finally agreed. From the chat, he learned that the man's name was Pinky, a retired soldier who had taken a photo with the president, and now he was going to the pawn shop to pawn the Purple Star medal he exchanged for his legs. He thought the medal would be worth a lot of money, but he didn't expect the boss to only offer 15 yuan at most. And these words immediately hurt Pinky's self-esteem. He became very angry and finally didn't pawn the medal. Fortunately, the two of them had good luck tonight. They found 2 large pieces of meaty chicken legs in the trash can. Although there were ants all over them, at least they wouldn't be too hungry when they went to bed at night. Because of Pinky's appearance, Willie, who was usually alone, gradually got used to the noise and bustle of the neighborhood. He began to learn to blend in. When someone asked him what his ideal was, he just said calmly that he didn't want to die alone. Years of wandering shaped his lonely character. Wandering without a fixed place to live made Willie lose his sense of security. He instinctively sought a little comfort from the outside. Even if it was a diary thrown in the garbage dump, even if it was a stray dog abandoned by someone, Willie would give all his enthusiasm to embrace them. When Willie begged with a stray dog, people would always give him a little more out of habit. But Willie, who got the money, did not have a full meal. Instead of a meal, he bought a can of meat for the stray dog. He continued to read the girl's diary next to the stray dog. The girl wrote in her diary that some people may only appear in your life for a short time. When he leaves, he really leaves, and you become alone again. The little girl is always looking forward to hugging the angel sent by her mother. These words made Willie deeply understand, because at this time he became a person again. Willie knows the taste of loneliness. Sometimes he will take the bus with strangers, and he doesn't care about other people's eyes, because Willie hopes that others can see him, so as to satisfy his little sense of existence. Willie silently encouraged the girl in his heart. The little girl will definitely make friends. Friends. That day he saw a book called The Little Match Girl in the library, and his story was very similar to that little girl. So he pasted the cover of the little girl's diary on the diary and told the girl, "I know you exist." He continued to fold the letter into a paper airplane. Maybe there will be thunder again tonight, but Willie silently promised in his heart he will always accompany the little girl, because they are friends, and friends should accompany each other. At the moment when the new year came, people on the street gathered together to wish each other a happy new year. Only Willie stayed away from the noisy crowd and came to the rooftop alone. He put the diary next to him, imagining that the girl was by his side, appreciating the gorgeous fireworks quietly blooming in the night sky with him. That is not only the love of every household, the expectation of New Year's memory. It is still a real emotional sustenance in Willie's heart. But the streets in the morning of the next day are still as deserted as usual. Willie and Pinky came to the garbage dump to look for items, but Pinky only has a special liking for the cigarette butts on the ground. He was afraid of lung cancer on the battlefield and never smoked, but now he has become such a cripple. It feels better to die directly from lung cancer in order to comfort thee. Frustrated, Pinky Willie found a piece of cardboard from the garbage dump and wrote the words, "War Hero," on it. This really attracted the attention of passers-by, and he gained a lot in just half a day. The two came to the hotel and wanted to open a twin room, but the front desk deliberately raised the price in order to prevent them from staying. The price of a bed became the price of a room. The kind-hearted Willie gave this rare opportunity to Pinky, and he returned to the streets to sleep in the cold, wandering around in boredom. He came to a brothel in the slums. Willie, who had never touched a woman before, was very nervous. When the woman was about to do her routine, Willie stopped her. The woman was very curious about what you wanted, but Willie said that he wanted love that could warm people's hearts, love that makes people want to fall in love with the world again. The woman's eyes were wet immediately after hearing it. Then she hugged him tightly in her arms, but Willie knew that it was impossible to get real love here. So he returned to the neighborhood again and continued to participate in the homeless boxing match. Every time he was a homeless, the young man beat up his compatriots. The purpose of the young man was simple: to shoot videos to attract rich people to gamble. This time Willie got a lot of money again. He was very satisfied with Willie's performance and even called him a friend. Although Willie was expressionless, his heart was actually already in turmoil. However, what he didn't know was that he was being used. With money, he could stay in a nice hotel, but somehow he always suffered from insomnia. He no longer had to worry about food, but he seemed to become more lonely than before. Soon, the coldest time of winter arrived. Pinky was shivering with cold, and Willie had to take him to the fire to keep warm. To express his gratitude, he helped Willie read his diary. The girl's life. Life is full of depression. After her mother left, her uncle adopted her. However, the uncle who often drinks makes the little girl hate him very much. Sometimes she also wants to go to heaven to accompany her mother. In this way, they will be together happily again. Pinky doesn't want to read it anymore. This story is too sad. Willie, who doesn't understand the reason, comes to Pinky. Pinky hopes that Willie will not like him anymore because he killed an innocent girl on the battlefield. She was used as a human shield. The captain asked him to shoot, and he did it. This became a shadow that he couldn't let go of. Pinky thought he was not a good person. Willie also felt sorry for the girl, but he still regarded Pinky as a good friend. Inner. Unable to let go, Pinky chose to turn around and leave. The two never met again after that night. Willie never heard from him from beginning to end. That night, the young man came here again. Willie picked a guy who wanted to make money. This time, the young man brought more people. Willie attacked his compatriots crazily, just to not let down the so-called friend. The young man cheered for Willie excitedly, and the black man who was beaten for the first time suddenly attacked the young man from behind. He asked him for the 50 yuan he had paid before. Willie saw his friend being bullied and immediately rushed over to grab the frying pan and knocked the black man to the ground. Seeing that someone was killed, everyone fled in panic. Even Willie's so-called friends, who he was proud of, disappeared without a trace in the first place. Willie was the only one left standing there, at a loss. He hid in his box and hugged the diary tightly. But Willie still felt unsafe and then hurriedly climbed to the roof. Sure enough, the police arrived at the scene soon. Willie wanted to hide in the hotel, but found that there were surveillance cameras everywhere. In the end, he slept on the side of the road casually, but the police did not investigate the matter. After all, no one would care about the life and death of a homeless person, but the guilt in his heart made Willie feel uneasy. So he took the little girl's diary to the cemetery. His father and the girl's mother were both watching them grow up in heaven. Even if he couldn't see, Willie could also find some comfort from the other party. Along the way, Willie had witnessed countless deaths, and he knew that he would die sooner or later, but Willie hoped that someone would remember him. A pigeon in the park died on the ground. He wrapped the pigeon with newspaper and put it on the tree. He simply thought that the pigeon should be in the sky, even if it was dead. Willie knew that the little girl was a good person, and the little girl made Willie a better person. Although Willie had nothing, if the girl could receive his letter, he would do everything to help the girl. That night, Willie passed by a pawn shop and found Pinky's medal in it. Willie spent 50 yuan to redeem it. Come back. Willie knew that this was Pinky's honor and dignity, and he planned to give him a surprise the next time they met. Tonight was particularly cold, and Willie hurriedly got into the cardboard box as soon as he returned to the neighborhood. He turned around and saw Pinky across the street, curled up in a wheelchair and suffering from the cold wind. Seeing this scene, Willie immediately took out the blanket he had been reluctant to use and prepared to give it to his friend. But when he came to the other party, he found that Pinky had stopped breathing at some point. Seeing this, Willie was stunned, and endless sadness also surged in his heart at this moment. Although the streets were freezing cold late at night, it could not freeze the hot tears that kept flowing from Willie's eyes. Willie Pinky's body was disposed of, and the medal was left forever at the place where he fell. That night, the guardian of the neighborhood suddenly came here and kicked over Willie's box. Questioned him why he wanted to fight and hurt his compatriots. Willie's blanket was given by him. This man silently guarded this neighborhood. Helping these people as much as possible, he did not allow people here to fight each other. Willie thought that the young man was his friend, but the guardian asked Willie, "Did you sleep in this cardboard box together?" One sentence made Willie not know how to answer, listening to the guardian's scolding and dissatisfaction with him. Willie suddenly understood everything as if he had just woken up from a dream. He was just a tool for others to entertain themselves. Just a tool. Willie was so stupid that he repeatedly hurt his neighbors for money. Thinking of this, Willie was immediately angry. He kept hitting the trash can to vent his emotions. He thought he was extremely stupid. He wanted to have a real friend too much. Unexpectedly, he was used by others. Willie came to the roof and decided not to contact the little girl anymore. Willie thought he was no longer a good person, but a person who sold out his friends for money. Willie also confirmed the planes that did not fly to the girl. Willie no longer wanted the endless hamburgers, but the love that would never be hurt. When Willie confirmed that no one would love him in the future, and he had lost the qualification to love Willie, Lai also fell into deep despair. Willie came to the army and wanted to join the army so that he could die meaningfully, but he was rejected because he was too old. He kept begging the other party to use him as a human shield and even throw him aside at will. Willie's idea made the other party admire him very much, but the result did not change at all. At this time, he was like a street rat, lingering in a dirty corner. And it was at this time that the young man drove here again. This time he brought more rich kids here just to find excitement. He called these beggars gladiator slaves, and those he brought to participate in the gambling became Roman nobles. But this time, Willie hid. No one was willing to join the fight. The spectators were ready to bet heavily. If no one joined the competition, his business tonight would be ruined. So he increased the prize money to $100. At this time, the weakest old man in the block stood up. Because he was too hungry, he had to do this in order not to starve to death. But no matter what the young man said, others remained indifferent. Just when he didn't know what to do, he accidentally found Willie hiding in the corner and keeping silent. But Willie, who had seen through everything, was unwilling to participate. The young man appealed to his emotions and reason. Look at that thin old man. Do you want to watch others do it, or do it yourself? In order to prevent others from hurting the old man, Willie finally still agreed to the young man's request. But when the game officially started, he stood there motionless, letting the old man's weak fist hit him. In order to make the old man hit him more smoothly, Willie even knelt on the ground in public. What he did seemed to be repenting for his previous behavior, asking the homeless to forgive his past mistakes. Seeing Willie's reaction, the young man completely took off his hypocritical mask. He directly took out the little girl's diary as a threat and threw it into the fire if he didn't do it again. Looking at the weak old man in front of him, and then looking at his most cherished diary, Willie, who didn't want to betray anyone again, made his own choice and said that he would not hurt his compatriots again. After hearing this, the young man threw the diary into the fire. Willie rushed forward and pushed down the iron bucket as fast as he could. Then he rushed forward to rescue the diary regardless of everything. Even though the flames burned his hands repeatedly like a knife, he still wanted to get the diary back from the raging fire. But after a fierce rescue, the diary was finally burned out. Willie's hands were severely burned as a result. He lay on the hospital bed with an expressionless face. Loneliness and despair also swept through his heart like a tide. Although he lost the diary, but the contents were already engraved in his mind. He unconsciously recited the contents of the diary, expressing his longing for his mother like a girl. He wanted to tell her about the bad things he had done, and the time he had spent doing nothing. Willie's true feelings were transmitted to the hospital corridor through the always-on pager. Soon, a girl with burns walked out of another ward and quietly came outside the ward. Listening to those familiar words, for a moment, she seemed to see the angel her mother had once said to her, at the same time, in Willie's. During the time of hospitalization, the street guardian suddenly stopped the young man's car, took out a weapon, and asked them to get out of the car. At first, the young man thought that this guy was here to rob. However, he was not interested in their money and car. He asked the young man to fight with his friend, the winner could drive home, and the loser stayed to suffer. After saying this, the guardian began to count down the time he wanted to treat the young man in his own way. The young man's compatriots quickly rushed to him, and a wonderful duel began. The guardian looked at the two people fighting in front of him. The guardian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After a few days, Willie's injuries gradually improved. Willie was sent back to the street by medical staff. Since the little girl's diary was burned, Willie completely lost hope in life. He sat numbly on the street like a zombie. The guardian saw Willie like this and gave him a blanket again, and then left silently. That day, Willie stood on the street begging as usual. He no longer claimed that he had nothing to do. What else to ask for? Just standing there silently, watching the traffic passing by him, a believer in God stopped in front of him and told him a way to go to heaven, 100% of the time. However, Willie said that he didn't want to go to heaven, but only wanted to go to hell. The believer who had nothing to say was finally called away by his companions. Just when his life was completely surrounded by despair, a little girl passing by accidentally saw his figure. She slowly crossed the road and came to Willie. The burns on her face and the pure eyes met at the same time. The two lonely souls touched each other at this moment, and Willie knew without saying anything that she was the real owner of the diary. At this moment, Willie turned into an angel and hugged the girl. When two wandering souls collided, the silent wind would applaud. The Wastepaper Boxer was directed by Nettery starring Thomas Haden Church and Terrence Howard, an American drama film released in 2016. Sometimes we may wonder why some people are willing to live a wandering life. There is such a saying that wandering is a way of self-exile after the soul has suffered great damage. They did not choose to hurt others, and had no malicious revenge. They just looked for the possibility of healing in the boundless loneliness. People's joys and sorrows are not the same, but loneliness can resonate. The movie uses the simplest lens language. It tears open the survival dilemma of marginalized people in modern society. Willie's identity as a tramp, the little girl's pain of losing her mother, the war trauma of disabled veterans. Each character is a fragment forgotten by mainstream society. However, the director did not indulge in the rendering of suffering, but through a diary that was picked up by chance. Let two lonely souls meet across time and space. Willie learns to read the diary. Use paper airplanes to send a reply that can never be delivered. The little girl was shocked when she heard Willie reciting the diary in the ward. This silent dialogue became the most moving metaphor in the whole article. Well, today's movie is shared here. Welcome to like, comment, and forward. Thank you for your patience. Looking forward to meeting you next time.